So I'm just going to write down up here a list of things. I'm sure we can share it on the meetup site. Because I think one of the best things we can give people here tonight is just a record of all those assets and ideas and places to go to follow up. So whether they're books or events or people, be great if we could squeeze your brains out and pour them onto this page. Umesh, do you want to kick off with your favourites?
Anything written by...
Anything.
Books. Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know him, brilliant, Polish entrepreneur, talks about hustle and everything else in between.
How do you spell that? It's so complicated. Vaynerchuk.
Vaynerchuk.
Gary V will do. Gary V will do.
At Gary.
Gary V.
Gary V.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Actually, we could keep going down until you run out. Ben, most inspirational source, tool, app, people, organization, event.
Well, for me, there's two things, and they're completely opposite ends of the spectrum. A really loud American guy named Tony Robbins. In terms of like just getting your psychology where it needs to be, so that you can run through fire when you just want to stay in bed. I think that's amazing. And the other thing is more inner. It's something I've been doing my whole life, which is meditation. I meditate. I started meditating when I was 11. It's evolved into all kinds of crazy stuff that I go off and do 10-day silent retreats and digital, what do they call it, digital fasting and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think it's important to understand who you are before you can start to put a message out into the world. And it's about the design thinking that it speaks a little bit to design thinking as well. So yeah, those are the two kind of things that keep me going.
Cool. Jason, do you have any nuggets of wisdom or just tips on where you go for inspiration that you think are useful?
I was personally born wise, so I just had the wisdom, like from the mother's womb. No. So first of all, you are not going to get off the platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, blah de blah de blah. Okay, they're designed to keep you locked there. So the best thing you can do for yourself is tweak those platforms, right? Educate them to give you the right content. Instead of watching Tom and Jerry on YouTube or some bullshit programs, watch Stanford's design thinking lectures. They're free. Watch my design thinking lectures. They're free. Facebook group called Design Thinking for Business. Join that. Participate there. Facebook, connect with people that are startup owners, businessmen. Your friends from school that post cat pictures, ban them, right? Like defriend them, or mute them out of your feed. Train your Facebook feed to give you stuff that is going to, help you. Also, I'd actually say avoid people like Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk. You know why? Because they'll motivate you to start. And you'll be like, yeah, just do it, and you'll work hard at it, and you won't have any clue as to what the hell to do. Right? Learn the actual frameworks, right? What I was presenting to you is frameworks, not motivation, right? Frameworks will help you get there, right? And then tweak that stuff, right? Like the thing is, people say you have to fail. No, never fail. Learn, right? You just learn. So that's the thing to do.
Cool. No, do you want?
Yeah. Actually, in the future, we'll be able to use Tony Robbins and start to push the button, the speed shape. But we will try that also. Everyone is talking about the psychology aspect. So, great book. Thinking Fast and Slow. I don't know if you heard about it. Daniel Kahneman. Great book.
Best book ever.
The best book. You will understand how our mind works, system 1, system 2, and it's must have if you want to design products. And also, I have the entire library here, The Power of Habit. How to train ourselves to create habits.
Habit. What's habits?
But what's the author?
I don't know. I don't want to read it.
Okay, Power of Habit.
That's enough.
I've added in the Pop app as well. If anyone hasn't got it and you've got an idea, you can just make this app on your phone in a few minutes, test it out, save yourselves a lot of pain and agony and money.
Actually, can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I'd say don't read books, okay? Don't read books. Reason why you shouldn't read books is because you only retain about 2 to 3% of the information that you read. Okay, when you read, you kind of just zone out. You're thinking about like flying unicorns, right? You're not actually thinking. And also your mind isn't designed to consume words. Words are just magical kind of hypnosis thing, right? So like actually watch videos or listen to stuff because you retain much more and you actually get through it much faster. I get through 2-3 books a day just by listening as opposed to reading, and I can actually listen to a book while I'm wireframing. So double up on the way I learn, because your conscious mind can do a conscious activity. Your subconscious can still take information, so you can do 2 things at the same time. Learn how to do that. Learn to learn.
Cool. At this point, free buzz around. Like anything you've found out there. We've got a lot of experience out in the audience. If you've got something that you think is a bit of a cornerstone, or that's helped you make a better startup, anything you want to share out there? People, go for it. Yeah.
I think if anyone's really interested in starting their own business, been there, done it before. I've worked for a startup now as well. They should really explore actually what a lean startup actually is practically. So actually, what does it mean to really validate your ideas, test your assumptions, and think about the slowest, quickest thing that you can do to test that, the cheapest thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So a lot of people often think about going straight into product or into service or into design, when actually a test could be simply just a conversation or an interview. And I think a lot of people really overrate ideas and undervalue execution.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to chuck out one. Fuck up nights. Anyone been to fuck up nights?
Yeah.
Basically, okay, so most of the panel have been. It's for people whose startups failed and they share that pain and that story and that glory, so other people can learn from it, they can learn from it. So just to big up another opportunity to spend a weekday night not at home. Fuck Up Nights is really good. Go and check it out. Learn from someone else's mistakes.
It's fun.
Objectified, the documentary, 2009 documentary, probably one of the best things you'll ever see on non-living objects, design, and everything else in between.
What?
Objectified.
Okay.
I'm sure you can find it on Netflix, Amazon Prime, illegal streaming.
Cool. Perhaps this is something we can keep going, but we want to take away a list of resources that we can plug in and play when we're out there, getting on with our lives, getting on with our businesses. At this point, I thought we'd just flip it before we come to the audience. I thought we'd just check in with the panel. What are the signs that it is not the perfect startup, but things are starting to look totally the opposite? And I guess like part of being a perfect startup is not having serious signs of problems. So I wonder if you could share with us what you think the signs of problems are, because we need to identify those. Even a perfect startup never stays that way. You're going to go through bumpy patches. So how to identify when you're less than perfect, I think could be useful. Perhaps we'll go back the other way this time. Or pass if you want some more time and we can come back.
Wow, that's an hard question. Actually, I'm investigating companies and competitive. My background is intelligence and competitive intelligence background. So I'm.
Sorry to interrupt, man. Can you shout to the people at the back?
Yeah, sorry. My background is competitive intelligence research, so I can feel when company is in trouble in a second, but I'm now having trouble to explain what I'm feeling. But usually is when we have unsynchronized things. When the founder is talking in different voices, so this is the first sign that something is wrong. And I will pass.
Yeah, I mean, so I've seen lots of different things that are great sign of a mess up. So it's like, if you feel like not working on your own startup, that's a great sign that it's not the right thing, right? So if you're like thinking like, I'm going to do a 9 to 5 today, and you're going to turn up at 12, that's not good. Second thing is like, if you're burning £500,000 a month and you haven't got a customer, right? That's a sign of like mess up. Or if you are saying to everybody that your product isn't ready to be shown to people yet because it needs to be like neatened up a little bit more, and you've been working on it for like 12 months or something, that's a great sign that you're like seriously messing up. I'll pass on.
I think a good sign of when things are going wrong is when things are going right. When things are going well, right? All of a sudden, you're like, things are cruising along, you're making money, you build this thing, and now it's like, you go and you look around and like, everything's working. What's going on here? And it means that somebody is about to eat you for lunch. That's what that means. Because if you're not innovating, if you're not creating, if you're not thinking about what can I do next, what can I do to make this better, how can I keep that startup mentality that got me where I am right now, innovate, iterate, keep going, somebody's going to come along and do what you're doing, do it better, and just have you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think when founders or people in the team forget the mission, the values, what you stood for, why you set up that company 5 years ago, 5 months ago, when you forget and you fall out of love with what you're doing, that's a real big warning sign. And when you can't articulate why you set it up in the first place, you should be very, very concerned. I think when you stop caring about your customers, or rather when you forget about your customers, you go, we've got 100 million customers, and you're not actively trying to find the next one. You know, your next one customer should be as important as the 100 million before. The day you stop caring about that next one is the day that you should get out, or you should hand over to someone else. Every customer, whether it's your millionth or billionth or one, is important. And I think the other thing that's super, super important is being open and honest with your team. If you are a startup that has recently just raised that I kind of work with, they were worried, the two founders were worried about communicating with their team that they were coming to the end of their runway, or one of their investors pulled out, and they didn't communicate openly with their own team. And I said to them, if you are not honest with your own team about that, what happens when you don't raise and then they're stuck? You have to build that trust. And what they ended up doing is telling the team, they sat down, and suddenly a couple of people went, oh, by the way, my uncle's an investor, I should probably have mentioned that. I didn't realize, I've told them about my company, and then they invested in his company, in their company. So I think being open with your team and talking about the difficult things, if you don't do that, then you're in real trouble.
Cool. Time to check it out to the audience, I think. Probably got about 10-15 minutes before we've got more drinks and snacks. So kind of 10-15 minutes. Who's got a question out there? Yes?
When you're building a team, how do you do the equity split? I've had advice that you do it equally to prevent any resentment, or just arbitrarily. What's your approach?
Feel free to pick up.
It's kind of like how long is a piece of string, that question. It depends, because it may be a case of two of you are full-time, one of you isn't. I think you have to be really open and honest with your co-founders and say, are you in this full-time? Are you in this for the long haul? If you are, then let's do a kind of an equal split. Maybe there is someone in that team who's instrumental and so valuable to you doing it. If you're a machine learning company and the guy who is the technical co-founder is key, and if you lose him, all credibility is gone, then maybe you have to incentivize him with more. That's not to say you have 25%, I have 25%, the other two have 25%. You can have clawback schemes, so you can go, if you hit these metrics, you get an extra 2%. Or investors do this a lot. They go, we'll give you, we'll take 25% stake in your company, but we'll give you 5% back if you hit these metrics. Because they're thinking long term, they're thinking, well, if you hit these metrics, great. So I think be open, be understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are as a team, and understand where your responsibilities are, and then divide it up from there. But make sure all three of you, or four of you, however many there are actually happy with the deal. Because it'll come back to money.
I personally find there's like a science to this, because if you have two founders that have 50-50 split, and one is kind of the real kind of idea behind the whole thing in the heart and soul, right? The other one's kind of important there as a kind of hype person, but not really contributing. It might be a wrong way to split it up, but also you got to make sure that you assign some percentages for investors, for future, and also if you have too many founders, it ends up being too much of a squabble, especially in the startup phase. Like people end up fighting over percentage of something that's worth nothing, or that's even worth minus numbers because they already put money into it, right? And as you kind of burnt it on some crappy ideas, and they're like, yeah, but I want my 17.5%, right? And then someone else comes in to actually invest and help, and they're like, I don't even know who owns what, right? So make sure there's one person that's like a majority stakeholder and that's actual CEO of the place, so that they can actually make a decision, whether it's a right or wrong decision, they'll make a decision, right? Otherwise you have this kind of even split and people just kind of sit on the side and go like, whoa, whatever, like, I don't care.
Actually, it's something to get to cap table is the most important part when you want to raise money. So and sometimes if you divide the shares in the wrong way, you won't be able to raise money in Series A or Series B or Series C.
Yeah.
You won't be able to raise money
Yeah.
because if the key players in your company doesn't have enough shares to continue, VCs won't invest in you, in your company. So you must understand who are the key players of your company, and you must understand how much share they will have. Even if you diluted your share, you will get after dilution of 70% of the shares. If you have enough, if the key player have enough, it's the right way to do it. If not, don't do it. And actually, the second issue about it, this is a best test case for test the other founders, the ego part of the other founders. Because if your ego in your team is big, it's too big, so don't go that road with them. So this is a good test case.
I have actually a very smart friend of mine started a company which is about sustainable cement, right? And they co-founded it in Imperial Innovation Lab. So Imperial, they incubate a business, then they take 50% up front, like, and so he'd already lost 50% off the back of his PhD thesis. Then they raised a round, raised another round, raised something like £5-6 million. And in the end, he had something like 0.1%, and he was working on a really low salary, like a third of what his marketing manager was earning, right? So it was like his idea, his company, he was busting himself, there, 0.1% and like 40K salary, whereas the marketing manager had something like 90K. It's like a ridiculous situation to be in.
Cool.
Wait, I'll say something about that. Don't go for investment. Just have a revenue model, something that generates money at the beginning.
Yeah. So it's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
And the longer the marathon, the slower you want to start, because otherwise you burn yourself out. So meditate.
I'm not a huge fan of valuation companies, but I understand that is part of the marketplace, and it's part of the churn. So.
Cool.
I have a question for Noah, in fact, about the platform that you are developing.
Yeah.
Called.
BizShake.
Sorry.
BizShake.
BizShake.
BizShake. Right. BizShake. Yes. I was wondering. It sounded very good in your presentation. I was just wondering how you're going to monetize that. Who's going to pay for the service?
There will be.
Do the entrepreneurs pay, or do the consultants pay? Just how does it work?
There will be a premium section out in the service, but a lot of it will be free.
Like LinkedIn.
Like LinkedIn. Yeah, there will be free aspects, free sections, and also premium section, especially the legal issues and stuff like that will be premium. But small amounts in comparison to what you have today, 10K or something.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, just a question for Umesh. I was quite surprised when you said that you prefer co-founders who have a long history of friendship rather than people who may have skills or aligned interests, because what you find is that people with a lot of history can end up in a lot of arguments which can then diverge where they're trying to get to. So I just wanted to get some more of your experience and feedback in terms of why you prefer one versus the other.
If they're arguing, that's good because they're passionate. They are invested in it. They really want the best out of it. They're trying to, the reason why people argue is because they're passionate about it. There's that raw kind of element of, I believe in this or I believe in that, and they're having a frank conversation with people. The worst thing you can do is be that silent person in the business that doesn't communicate. You bottle it up and it all comes to a head, and then you have a freak out in front of investors or in front of customers or whatever. I think the reason why I like people who are either friends or who, not necessarily friends, but who've done previous projects together, is you've got that track record, you've got that almost experience, and I as an investor or someone looking into that business go, well, okay, they just have a good gel, because 80% of why I invest is the people. It's not often the product, and I think that's the key for me.
It's about the higher the heat, the better the broth, right? So that's okay, but it is important to keep an eye on that and make sure that they have conflict resolution skills as well. That they're not just at each other's throat all the time, and it becomes, a stumbling block for the progression of the company.
I think your startup is going to take anywhere between 3 to 5 years to actually start really kind of working properly and making money. And then people who've known each other for 10 plus years, and haven't parted ways, are likely to last another 3 to 5 years, while building something. As opposed to like you meet somebody, in a hackathon and so on, and you then go like, oh, I really like the way you presented your thing, right? And it's like, cool. And then once you start working on a startup together, it's very much like marriage. You have to share everything, and then it's like, oh, dude, I haven't got enough money for like toothpaste, and the other guy's going out for like a 10-pound burger meals, like lobster on the side, and you're like, man, I don't feel this anymore.
Is that from experience?
Yeah.
Is that the way too specific?
No, I know that the thing is, it's not from my experience, but I spoke to 2 guys who had actually they launched an app that was like an Instagram for poetry, okay? And it took off like crazy because Apple featured it on the App Store, and it started having like 50,000 downloads a day, and it was like burning their servers. And I said, what does it feel like having an app, that's got 50,000 downloads a day? They go, man, our server costs are through the roof. I haven't got enough money to buy toothpaste anymore. I haven't brushed my teeth for 3 months. Just to keep it going. Sorry?
What was their revenue model?
Well, there wasn't one. That was
Nice, I think we've got one here. Go for it.
Another question for you, Mesh. I'm not sure if you've heard of Rocket Space, but
Yep.
there's an element of their model that's quite similar to what you're doing with Pace Ventures. We can talk about it after. But I wanted to get your take on kind of like dumb money versus smart money. So we're looking at a VC investor, for example. I've worked with a few in the past where actually the strength of their network is really strong. So they can really introduce you to customers, or they have a depth and a certain expertise, so they can help you with your operations function, help you with hiring. What value do you see yourself adding as an angel, as a VC?
Me personally,
beyond the capital, you personally.
It's networks. It's the people. London is a surprisingly small place, but if you don't know the people there, it's very big. There's hundreds of events going on, but it's the same people that are at those events. It's the John Bradfords of the world. It's the Priyas from Rocket Space. It's the C-Camp guys, Carlos, and it's the standard people that are there. But how do you get to them? And so many startups ask, how do you get to them? Well, you've got to know people who know them. And you also have a product.
In terms of your network, in terms of how you add value, is it in your domain space, or is it like in terms of the fact that you can introduce people to a range of investors? So, for example, if I was building a consumer retail app, and actually you've had 25 years in consumer retail, you can introduce things to yourself, which is Harrods in any other store.
Yeah, it is definitely the network. I wouldn't say I have a domain expertise in anything other than in networking with people and being in the room with the right people, and having built some pretty good kind of startups previously, and also being in the accelerator space where you are connected. The beauty of accelerators is that they sit in the middle between startups, press, the angels, VCs, funds, private equity. That's where I have kind of built my career in the last 6 years. And as a result of that, I have a multitude of different people that I can tap into. I'm definitely not the clever person, it's someone else that I know that I would introduce you to. I think that's the key. And a good VC, a good angel, a good accelerator program, a good incubator program, a good university program should do all of those things. And if they don't have those things, and if you question them, they don't have it, walk away. That's the difference between you joining Techstars and you joining Mesh Kumar Accelerator or whatever.
Go for it.
Yeah. My question would be, let's say if a VC comes and say, okay, I want to invest like say 100K in your idea, but I want 33% shares, right? Now, how do you decide, is that too much or too less? Because today 100K might be good money, but when a company grows to much more revenue, like, or you need more money, let's say 1 million tomorrow, but then you don't have any shares to give for the new VC who wants to invest more. How do you do these numbers?
Well, I hope you don't just go to one person. I think you have to go to a multitude and find out what they're saying. If you've spoken to 5, 6 investors and that's what they're offering you and it's a similar percentage, give or take 3 or 4%, then they're probably on a fair valuation for where you are. And also at this point you should have some advisors. You should go out to various different startup events and meet serial entrepreneurs and go, hey, this is my business, can you take a look at my pitch deck? Can I talk you through the product? Can I show you what I've got? This is what I'm being valued at. I'm not entirely sure. What are your thoughts? And like a startup trying to get users, get as much feedback as possible, whether that be from other investors, whether that be from entrepreneurs, current and previous, and just as many people as possible. Your kind of your advisor network as well. And actually, one of the best things you can do is go to a private equity company or go to a VC that invests at a much higher level. They will never invest in you right now, and have a chat with them and go, look, can I have a bit of your time? This is where I am. I know I'm a pre-seed round of 100,000 and you only invest at 5 million. But when I get to that stage of you coming to invest in me, how much money or should I be giving away for how much equity? And if they say this much and we'll consider you, then you know where you are in that cycle.
I think we're into the zone for the last one. We'll try and squeeze 2 if we're quick.
Transfer-wise, because we described the transparency and it's overdone. What was your take on transfer-wise? Because you used as an example.
What do you mean it's overdone? I don't understand the question.
What was the final note on transfer-wise from your example?
Oh, I would just had a video to show that, it was basically about their guerrilla marketing strategy, their way of connecting with their tribe. So they used a lot of this kind of gonzo technique to go out there and really reach out and do that kind of marketing to say, instead of, so they created a movement, right? They said, we're a group of people that don't believe banks are treating us fairly. Now that's something you can get behind, as opposed to a group of people who just say, we're going to charge you less than the banks.
I see,
right?
I don't appreciate that, and I believe in that.
So all of their customers are like, we're part of this movement, man. We're part of this great thing. We're part of the people that believe that banks are bad and they're charging us too much money, and that's a horrible thing. And we're anti-establishment. Are you anti-establishment? Yeah. Okay. Use TransferWise. But if you're just going, saying, well, we've got this great service and it costs less, who cares? There's other people out there, I guarantee, that provide a money transfer service that costs less than the banks.
Even Standard they do that. I mean, not disrespect.
Yeah, maybe they don't cost less than TransferWise, but they cost less than the banks. And there were others before them. Did they have success? No. Why? Because these 2 guys really understood their tribe. They said, this is who we are. Now we're going to connect to the people out there who believe in the same thing. And if I showed you the video, you would see it looks like a public demonstration. It looks like a protest. And so what are they doing? They're just creating this culture of people that believe in the same things that they believe in, and then it doesn't matter what they sell them. people will buy. It's like my mom. It doesn't matter what Apple. You know, Apple was a computer company, and then they sold her an MP4. And they were like, here, and she bought it hook, line, and sinker. And she wasn't like, wait a minute, you make computers. She just was like, anything you do because you believe in the simplicity and elegance of design and things that work and that are easy and user-friendly. And that's, she's bought in hook, line, and sinker, and that's why she gets everything that comes out.
Cool.
Is there a follow-up to that?
There's not, because there's only time for a final gravestone epitaph of just if each of the speakers, if there's one thing you want the people to remember from tonight, maybe you can just give us the one thing, because there's a lot going on tonight. I don't know about you, I will remember half a dozen at best. But if there's one thing, one myth you want to bust, or one message, this is final epitaph time. Just, it's not a speech, it's a single line, because we're out of time now. While they're thinking about this, really unfair, difficult question right at the end, it is appropriate to say a massive thank you to Team Spirit for hosting us tonight. We do have a very exclusive invitation-only event this time next week, which is hosting a Singapore Trade Federation, who are coming to steal FinTech companies from London and take them back to the East with them. So if you want to come and see a debate which is about Singapore versus London, what's the best venue for FinTech companies, we might be able to squeeze you in. It's exclusively for FinTech companies, that one. Come and see me or Z if you're interested in that. Otherwise, don't forget, Regini, you were looking for people to come and do beta testing on your app, YOL.
Yep, just come and talk to me. Yeah.
So if anyone can volunteer on that, that'd be very helpful. Folks, how's the unfair question processing going?
So I'd say everyone, when they talk about the perfect startup, thinks about you need this amount to raise, you need this, you need this, you need the perfect thing. But fundamentally, keep going back to your mission and your vision. Keep going back to why you're getting up in the morning and really understanding that. And so long as you and your team, your founders, and your wider team embrace what you're trying to do, every other hurdle will be overcome with time and patience. So I think going back to the core of what you're doing and why you're doing it, Simon Sinek thing, have that mantra behind you, you'll be fine.
Cool.
Agreed. I would say it in a slightly different way, which is just look inside your heart, look inside your soul, make sure that every day you're on that same mission that's gonna get you out of bed every day, because otherwise the chances, if you're just doing it for money, the chances are you know after a while you're stuck doing it, you'll get bored, and the people around you won't rally to your cause. Make it a mission, make it a cause, and then you'll have it'll pave the way. It won't make it easier, but it'll certainly, like Umesh said, you'll overcome some hurdles more readily. And Tony Robbins isn't just a motivational speaker; he's also a success coach. So. I just sneak that in there.
As a coach, I would advise you to really get coached in design thinking. This is the reason why we have a mission of coaching 1 billion people design thinking. It's not just some sort of hoo-ha thing. It's because design thinking is a self-referenceable method, and it's an Uber method that you can apply to your own mind and really understand what is your personal mission and purpose in life, which you can then express into your business and apply iteratively to your business to set up the strategy, and projects and people and all the things that I spoke about. So once you really get a grasp of that and apply it, you're onto a big one.
Cool, no?
Yeah. So focus on your uniqueness and move fast. And we can help you do that. Okay,
Perfect. So I think, can I check the cutoff time we have? I think 9:30 is our cutoff time. Is that right?
I think we should try and start.
Be gone before?
Yeah, let's have like 20 minutes of networking, and then because we need to move chairs and things like that.
Cool. I'll do a really loud, annoying whistle when it's time for us to start moving, and then a really annoying, much louder one again when it's time that you should not be here. But otherwise, massive thank you, Team Spirit. Huge thank you, please, to the panel who to make sure that we get this wonderful video up shortly. Otherwise, see you soon. Thanks very much. Let us know the good, the bad, the ugly. We always welcome feedback. Let us know. Thanks very much.